And Sid Dempsey was the current president. Well, he was the former president at the NCAA at the time. It was his baby. And him and Dan Bogan, who was the vice president at the NCAA at the time. Salute to my man Dan Bogan and my man Sid Dempsey. Sid Dempsey, it was his baby. He was like, this has to happen. We got to, get some type of education for these players. And so he found Ann Little. Ann Little found Greg Turner. Greg Turner, found Greg Graham. And I was an intern. And man, I was just a little punk intern. You know what I'm saying? And so I had heard about the program. So I used to sneak upstairs and see what they was doing. I was like, hey, y'all, I want to be a part of this. And they was like, Duke, when we get a chance, I was like, no, y'all not understanding me. So lo and behold, I got to be a part of it. I volunteered. Ann Little was in charge of making this program turn into fruition. You know what I'm saying? She did an incredible job. She was a great visionary with the whole thing. Originally, they wanted one mentor to one kid, 500 kids, 500 mentors. And Ann was like, this just not going to work because now we're going to worry about you still going to have the same problem. You got agents and runners. If we hire one to be a mentor for a kid in, Florida, we don't know if he's an agent or runner. So we narrowed it down, and they narrowed it down, and we said the mentoring aspect, we'll just interview people and get mentors in different sections of the country where we have pockets of kids. First Team, for people that don't know, was a basketball mentoring program which was created to select and identify kids that show the potential to play at the Division I level. The whole program was to help kids navigate the recruiting process because kids at that time were able to go from high school to the NBA. They had a lot of misinformation. So the program was put in place to help kids navigate, high school recruiting. Like, how do I get into college, and give them that platform, give them that roadmap? Because we used to have a little roadmap of what you got to do with your core classes when you're a freshman, core classes as a sophomore, core classes as a junior, core classes as a senior. What does it take to get into Notre Dame? It's one thing to, oh, I'm going to Notre Dame, got accepted, but what does it take academically to get in there? You know what I mean? And athletically. So that was what the whole premise was, but we knew we had to put a twist on it. So the twist was we're gonna give them some real life. We're gonna give them the real. Our thing was we just gonna give it to them raw. We're gonna give it to them real. And man, our budget put like this. We had the second largest, put like this, bro. We had and nobody knew. A lot of people don't know. We had the second largest budget in the NCAA building behind men's basketball. 4 people. Men's basketball probably had 25, 30 people. We have 4 people. So Ann Little had the second largest budget in the building. Man, we rolled that thing out, and we went and hit them streets. Mike Conley, salute to Mike Conley Sr., because he's the one who helped us in the beginning, because we didn't know where to find 8th graders. So the thing was trying to rise in 9th graders, so 8th grader going into the 9th grade. We had a whole bunch of talented kids. But once we got those kids, brought them into the program, the mentoring program, we would bring them to a summer conference every year. So as a freshman, you would come to the conference. Then you would come back to the conference as a sophomore. Then you would come back to the conference as a junior. And then we would see you off as a senior from the conference. So we got 4 years of programming. Every year was a different set of programming because each class, they learn stuff different. Man, we had table etiquette. We had grooming. We had sex education. We had, I forgot what we called my man Dirk in session, but they kind of just kept it raw. They talked to the kids about, if you do make it to the NBA, what are the pitfalls and things of that nature. Man, we had recruiting. We had media training. Man, you name it, we was teaching kids from freshmen to their senior year about what it's gonna be like when you get out of your senior year. And this is before everybody was sticking a microphone in kids' face, interviewing them, at the youth basketball tournament. So we was already ahead of all that. So, and we just try to keep it real with the kids. We would go also our summer conferences, man. We would take kids and we would buy out Busch Gardens, or we would buy out NASCAR Speed Park, take the kids there, all you can eat, all exclusive, just us, nobody, because we didn't want people to be like, oh, there's Mike Conley, there's a talk trying to come on. Man, everything we did was exclusive. It was private. Only people that was there was the people that rode with us, man. And it was free. But people don't realize. Oh, and it was actually a violation of the NCAA rules. We had a bylaw put in the book for our program. Said put a bylaw in there saying, hey, you can fly these kids out. We didn't bring parents. Parents, if you wanted to come, you had to find your own way. You couldn't stay at the hotel with us. You had to go. You couldn't go to none of the sessions. It was athletes only, mentors only, and speakers only. No outsiders could come in. Nike and Adidas, man, when they found out about it, they were like, man, we want a part of that. And at the time, you know, I was the young guy that was like, yo, let's sign with Nike. Let's be our sponsor because they got all the kids. And Ann Little was like, no, we ain't bowing down to that. And, you know, years later, man, Nike, hey, that's what they do. They took some of our ideas and made it they stuff. You know what I mean? But we didn't know they was going to do that. But at the time, I was a big Nike. I was like, man, let's roll with Nike. They got the kids. So we threw some ideas out at Nike. Kind of took the ideas and blew it up. But that's kind of, I mean, I'm pretty sure I left out some stuff, but we just mentoring kids, teaching them life stuff. We would go visit them. You know, man, we would go throughout the year. And we made it a point that I tried to go see every senior play. So for 4 years, bro, I didn't have a break. I had a break only in June to July, and that was to get ready for the conference in August. So our conference was every year. Man, we had kids skipping Nike camps and everything, and Nike was like, yo, where y'all going? They like, I'm going to the team. I'm there, bro. So that's how it went down, man. Yep, that's how it went down, T.
So I mean, so I got a program called the Bridge Program that I do, and I think you hit the nail on the head. And I think it's not about getting kids when they're already sophomores and juniors. It's really, you got to get them when they're in 8th grade before they actually start the official journey. That's the most important transitional year into this high school thing. So 8th grade is when I start my Bridge Program because there's some things that these kids need to know prior to getting into high school. And then when you're talking about the elite level kids, which First Team had, there's a whole different set of things that they have to be concerned with because they're the elite in basketball. So talk to everybody about how it was. Like, how did you guys go out and identify a kid that you wanted to be a part of First Team? Because like you couldn't just be a basketball player and be a part of it. You had to be selected. So which is how we met. So talk about that process with you and Greg.
Man, the identity process and the selection process, it was pretty gruesome, honestly, because I was kind of in charge of it because I was the youngest one on the staff. You know what I'm saying? So Craig Turner, my big brother, he always was, you know, like, Duke, we got to find these kids. So at that time, my boy, salute to Justin Bemke. At that time, man, you know, there was a lot of scouting services. So I would take and go get I would go get like 5 of the top scouting services. I would call them. They would send me their players. And once they sent me the players, I would just look at names. And I was like, all right, if I seen T. Dozier up there 4 times, I'm like, all right, he might be legit because he's on all 4 of these. He might be 4 or 5. So then I would figure out what team he was on. Man, I would go look for the tournaments, and we would divide and conquer the country at the time. So what we did was we would sometimes we would go in little pockets. And so at that time, you know, big tournaments, I would try to see how many kids was going to be at this tournament, and I would just book a flight and go to that tournament. So that way, if I had 10 kids on the list, I could see 10 kids at one tournament versus going to one tournament just to see one kid. So so once I would get out there, see if you was legit, you know what I'm saying? But what people didn't realize was, and I still do this to this day, I don't ever sit behind the bench, man. I always go to the gym and sit on the other side of the gym because I'm looking at the bench because I want to see your reactions on the bench. Because if I see you over at Pout and doing all this stuff on the bench, then you might be a top kid in the country, but I don't know if I really want you to be in the program because, like, I'm looking at how you treat your teammates, all this type of stuff. You ain't going to change that. You know what I'm saying? So, and then also I could look and see who the parents were. I was like, now I can walk in the gym and see a kid and be like, oh, that's his parent over there, Blase Scoop. So some of the things that went into identifying a kid, man. If I seen the kid, one, talent. Let me see his talent. And then I would look around the gym, see if I can find his parent. If I couldn't find his parent at the end, I would try to go over and talk to the coach and say, hey, this is our program. This is what we offer. We like to have this young man to be a part of it. What people didn't know was kids had to fill out an essay. So, like, we took it like kids had to write an essay of why they wanted to be in our program. One of the carrots about the program, we put a bunch of pictures on the application of kids that were in. So at that time, you had, Bill Walker, O.J. Mayo, Mike Conley, Mo Miller, Greg Oden, Daquan Cook, Eric Gordon, all those people like, dang, well, if they're doing it, then, man, we had that carrot. And then once they figured out, like, dang, they rocking like that, let me go see what it's about. Austin Rivers, Doc Rivers, he was a big supporter. Doc used to trip because he'd be like, dang, man, you be in all the gyms. I'm trying to find all the kids, So, man, I used to travel the country. I mean, for like 11 years, man, like maybe 1 or 2 vacations in 11 years, man. Because after the conference in August, then we went out to all the new kids that were selected as freshmen. We would go out and meet their parents because we never knew their parents. So we would fly out, meet their parents, take them to dinner, tell them what we all about. Then that would go on from August to like December. Then August to January, maybe February, and then, summer basketball. So then we out recruiting and selecting. So that's kind of how and then people didn't know we had a big boardroom. So we get all these names. We had a selection committee. So we would sit in this boardroom all day and we put stuff up, man, and decide on which kids we was going to bring in and decide on who would select about 50 kids each year. Yo, G Wooten, you get some kicks whenever you want, man. You gotta wear the right side. It's just one wall, G Wooten. Just one wall. But no, we would have a selection committee, and we would have people come in. We had a few people on the board would come in and select kids. There was some kids that we didn't select just for various reasons, but there's a good story about Fred VanVleet, how we selected that young kid too, man. Now he's Toronto Raptors, all that type of stuff.
No question, no question. So was there a certain amount of kids that you guys would take every year, or would it just, you guys say, we're going to take 20 kids or?
50. We would do 50 kids a year. Now we got 200 kids total.
Okay.
50 8th graders. We would take a few ninth graders just because we might have missed them in the 8th grade. So we would take a few ninth graders. We capped it off around 50, 55 so that we have 200 kids. That's a lot of kids for basically 4 people to mentor and take in.